Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. I know that it has been a while, but your girl has been working on a lot. So we're not even going to get into all that. Just stay tuned. That's all I can tell you ladies is to stay tuned. But make sure to comment, like, and subscribe and be on the lookout because I am dropping a video every day, if not every other day this week. So yeah, tune in. Today we are just going to be doing a video for beginner nail techs and any nail tech for that matter, but this is mainly focusing on just beginner nail tech work. I'm not going to do any tutorial on the design, just for basic application and prep. So I started by pushing back the cuticles with my cuticle pusher. You want to be really gentle and just slightly push back the cuticles, and then I went around with my cuticle or cone shaped drill bit, and this just exposes the entire nail and gets all the nitty gritty from underneath that cuticle, well, pushed back cuticle I should say. And now I am going around each nail from top to bottom, around the cuticle, side to side, literally covering the entire nail with my sanding band. And this is a 180 grit sanding band. This is the grit that I recommend that you use when doing this step. Any other grit is really too harsh in my opinion, so I just would start with this. And this is important because it gets rid of all of the natural shine from the nail, and that is what the natural shine is what causes the nail, or can cause the nail, to lift or to pop off, because pretty much what it does is it eliminates the bonding between the nail tip and the acrylic and the natural nail. So yeah, if you feel like you're having issues with lifting or nails breaking, definitely start with your prep. You want to go back through and revise that, make sure that you're doing everything right, and making sure that you're just taking your time with that, because 9 times out of 10 that is where your issues are coming from. So now I'm just applying the tips. Of course, she's not going to do this long. We are going to cut them down. But as you can see, I'm just sizing each nail to the nail tip, and I am making sure to make the tip be big enough. So you don't want it to be too small or too big. But if you do have to decide, definitely would rather it be too big, because you can just file it. You want to make sure that the nail tip goes from sidewall to sidewall, ladies. Definitely make sure that you're not having to apply any pressure or press it down, because all that's going to do is cause the nail to pop off or to lift. So she is deciding to keep the coffin shape, so I just like to go back through and clean up the shape just a little bit. You don't have to do this, especially if the tips that you're using are already pre-shaped, and for instance in this case they are. So yeah, I'm just going and filing the nails. I'm just pretty much following the shape that is already pre-made with the tip, but I like to just add my own little touch and make it a little bit more sharp, a little bit more crisp. You want to make sure that you're pulling your client's nail, well, skin back I should say, because these files do get sharp. I get my files off of Amazon. They're just 80 grit files. Like I said, you can find them on Amazon, but I really like them, and I think that they are the best in my opinion. They just really, give me that nice, crisp, clean shape that I always look for. So I definitely recommend those. And the tips that I'm using, I forget the exact brand, but I know for a fact I got them off Amazon. So if you are wanting to find some pre-shaped coffin tips, I definitely can leave you the link below. And so when filing, I do always tell well, I do always say in my tutorials, I was going to say tell my ladies, you guys are my ladies, but I do say in my tutorials to constantly make sure that you are flipping your client's hand over and just looking at it from different angles, because it just ensures that your shape is in fact straight, your nail tips are pretty straight, the shape is crisp, all of that good stuff. And I wanted to touch on, as you guys seen when I was applying the tips, you want to make sure that the tips are going straight in the direction of each other. So I'm sure we all have them clients that have that one crooked finger, and you try to match the nail up in the direction of the finger, and then it just looks crooked and you don't know how to fix it. The key to that is when you are applying the nail tips, you want to make sure that all of the nail tips are even and going in the same direction rather than following the direction of the nail, because the nail definitely can be crooked, and most of the times it is crooked. So that is a tip. Just apply the pinky nail straight according to the center it with the nail, and then apply the rest center to that. So that really has helped me a lot. So I recommend that. It took me a while to learn that. Why, I don't know. It seems pretty simple, but there's a first time for everything. So now I'm just taking that same sanding band and I'm going ahead and blending the nail tip with the natural nail as well as the entire nail tip. The blending of the natural nail with the nail tip is important because it helps just create a better bond and prevent lifting. And filing the rest of the nail tip is totally optional. I just like it because I feel like it helps the acrylic adhere better. Like I said though, that is totally optional. I tried it one day and I have never went back. I feel like applying the acrylic just becomes way easier and way smoother. So definitely do with that what you want. So now I'm going in with my dehydrator. This is Mia's Secret. It can be found on Amazon. This is just getting rid of the natural shine, just one last little strip. And as you can see, the nails are perfectly shaped, perfectly prepped, besides this one last step. Just beautiful. So it's going to make my application a lot easier. And now I'm going in with my Young Nails primer. This is what helps the adhesion of the acrylic to the nails and helps just the overall foundation. You can get this off Amazon as well. 10 out of 10, both of these products I highly recommend. And I don't film this part, but this is optional. I do put 2 coats of the primer on. Do what you want with that, what you will. That's probably the wrong way to say it, but y'all ladies know what I'm trying to say. Do with that information what you will. You don't have to do the 2 coats, but like I said, I do it, and I literally can count on one hand how many clients tell me that their nails lift in a month, a year, 3 months. Like, lifting with me and my clients is like, what is that? So I don't say that to sound cocky or anything. It just goes to show that maybe the 2 coats does really help. So yeah, there's that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and get into the application. So I am using, oh man, I forget the color of this acrylic. I do know it is from Sugar and Cream. And if you would like to know the color, comment down below and I will, of course, get the name to you. This is like an Instagram brand. I literally 1,000 out of 10, y'all. I think I've said this in a lot of my other videos, but I love this brand so much. Every single last acrylic I've ever ordered from them has been 1,000 out of 10. No, this is not an endorsement. This is not a brand deal. They don't even know who I am. I just love their acrylics so much. I would literally die if I got a brand deal or something from them, you guys. Like, that's how much I love their acrylics. I love their brushes. The brush that I'm using is from Sugar and Cream, and I've had this for literally 2 years, you guys. Still going strong. So yeah, thanks for coming to my Sugar and Cream TED Talk. But overall, you guys, the whole point of saying that is that it is amazing. I love the acrylic. I love the brand as a whole. So yeah, let's get back into the most important part, what you're here for, which is the tutorial. Sorry. So as you can see, I went ahead and built this nail up. I started from the bottom. As I do every nail, I just get a medium-sized bead. You want to make sure it's not too wet or too dry. If your bead is too dry, it's not going to do anything at all. And if it's too wet, it will definitely be runny, which will cause you to waste a lot of your acrylic. So you just want to make sure that your bead is not too wet, like I said, and not too dry. And if you do feel like you are picking up a bead that is too wet, you can easily dab the side of your brush onto a paper towel or even wave it. Not in the air, but just wave your brush for a few seconds and it will kind of let the acrylic settle. And also when you're placing the beads onto the nail, it helps sometimes to just kind of hold it in place and let it set. So those are just a few tips if you feel like, man, my acrylic is just always super runny and I don't know, how to fix it. So I do normally use about 3 to 4 beads per nail. Sometimes it's way more, sometimes it's way less. It really just depends, and to each his own. Every nail tech has a different method. I'm sure that you may have a different method watching this. It really just depends. These videos that I do are just for help and just for people to see how I do things to maybe help them. So it's not the nail Bible here. I just post these, to maybe help someone learn a new way of doing things. But so I say that to say just take everything that I say with a grain of salt and do what works for you. So as far as that, like I said, I use about 3 to 4 beads, which sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but that is my base starter, I guess. I always place one bead at the edge of the nail, free edge of the nail, and I just go ahead and feather it down. You do want to remember when you're laying your acrylic, you do not want it to be super thick or super thin. So when you're moving the acrylic or placing the acrylic, you want to make sure that when you're bringing it down, you're just feathering it, just patting it. You don't want to apply too much pressure, because then most of your acrylic will either end up in your brush or it'll end up getting wiped off. So you just really want to be very light-handed, just brushing it down. Make sure that you're doing it enough to, be building that acrylic, but you don't want to do it too much. So that might sound like, oh my gosh, that sounds so hard. Like, I have to do it perfectly. You'll know it's much easier done than said. I know that's normally the other way around, but once you're doing it physically, you will definitely understand what I mean by that. So just take your time with it and definitely get your rhythm down, and I promise it will start to be like second nature to you. And another thing is that most people think that you have to make your nails super thick, super chunky, as long as there's a whole bunch of acrylic, then it won't break. And that is definitely not true. The most important part of your nail is where I'm placing the bead right now, and that is the apex. The apex is where the nail tip and the natural nail are, they meet. And that's super important because 9 times out of 10, if your nail is going to break, that is where it's going to break at. That is like the heart of the nail, because a good way to think about it is, without that nail tip being placed right there, you have no nail. If that was not to be right there, you would not have any nail on your nail. You know what I'm saying? So that is where it's most important. You can kind of think of it like that's the seed, and then the rest of the nail is a flower. So overall, you're just, like I said, focusing on that apex. That is the most important part. So just keep that in mind when you're applying your acrylic. Like I said, you do not need the entire nail to be thick or full of acrylic, super chunky, because at the end of the day, that is not going to help you at all. If anything, it's just going to waste time because you're spending so much time and product on top of that, trying to make this big nail thinking that, oh, well, it won't break, and that is not the case. So just keep that in mind. And then also, when it comes to the cuticle bead, that is the last bead that I place unless I decide to add more acrylic. You do not want to put that too close to the cuticle. You want to put it slightly under, because when you do go to feather the acrylic down, it will still push it up. And the goal is for the cuticle area to be nice and flush. You want it to be filled in just right. You don't want it to be over top of the skin. You don't want it to be too far away from the cuticle. You want it to look like the nails literally grew out of the nail bed. So to do so, it does take some practice, but the number one key is to just not place the acrylic too close to the cuticle. Like I said, as you do start to feather it down, it will push up, so you just want to place it, right underneath the cuticle, just not right on top of the cuticle. And if the acrylic does by chance happen to get onto the skin or too far above the cuticle, you can just simply take your brush and wipe around that area. That will clean it up nice and neat for you, and just make sure that all of the acrylic is off of the skin and not over top of the cuticle. That is called flooding, by the way, and that will for sure cause lifting. So if you have any acrylic on the skin, or if the acrylic is too far above the cuticle, or above the cuticle at all, I should say, you will for sure have lifting. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, it's an easy fix just to take your brush and to wipe around the cuticle area, wipe around the skin, make sure everything is nice and flush, nice and neat. And also, when you're applying the acrylic, a big tip that I can give is to work with medium beads. I know I said this, but I didn't go really into depth with it. I say medium beads because it is easier to add acrylic rather than to take it off. So I always kind of say work light, because it's easy to build it up and add if you need it, versus putting too much and now you have to spend extra time, in the end filing that off. So Just definitely keep that in mind. And of course, you guys have heard me say multiple times in this video, and if you're a returner, you know that I say this all the time. It is better to work smarter, not harder. And what I mean by that is keeping everything nice and clean will literally save you so much time, ladies. So as you can see, every nail, before moving on to the next, and as I'm applying the acrylic, I'm constantly making sure to wipe the sides of my nails as well as the free edge, because like I said, it just keeps everything neat and clean, and it literally cuts down on filing so much. You guys, I did not always do this, but I can honestly say that since I've started doing this, it for sure has made sets go way quicker. Not that you want to rush, but it is nice to just keep your client's time in mind. And then even for yourself, you know, to pace yourself and get a good rhythm down, because the quicker that you move, the more clients you can get in the day. And you know, the more clients that you can take in at one day is the more money you can make. So that is all a work in progress. You know, you'll start one way, or you'll start one place and you will definitely end up in another. So just keep that in mind. Don't, you know, fret or worry about, oh my gosh, I'm taking too long, or I'm just too slow, because it will all come. I promise you. I used to take about 3 hours for a set, and now I would say that I am about an hour and a half, maybe two for like exquisite sets. But regardless, at least my clients are leaving with a quality set. So I would rather them sit there for 7 hours if it means that they are leaving totally satisfied and getting quality work. So, yeah, never feel bad for taking a little longer if that means that you are putting out good work, because your work is everything. It is the number one way to get clients, honestly, because word of mouth, if somebody is super ecstatic about their nails, they're for sure going to recommend you to their friends and sisters and cousins and aunties. And likewise, it'll just keep going on and on. So, overall, more of the story is to try to do things that will quicken your time, but not to panic or worry if you feel like no matter what you do, you know, you're still just taking a little longer than you'd like. It is totally okay. And one day you will look up and be like, damn, I did that set in an hour and a half or in 2 hours. And you won't even, you know, realize that sometimes it's not even exactly what you do, you know, to speed up the process. It just happens to come. That's the only thing I can say, honestly, because that was what happened with me. I was super slow, I guess, you know, to say the least. And then I looked up one day and I'm like, damn, I'm fast. And it just came. You know, you get a flow down, you get a rotation down, you get everything moving into a certain, you know, pattern, and you just start to take off from there. So definitely just give it time, especially if you're a beginner. And like I said, this video is mainly for beginners, which anybody is welcome to watch. But this video just focuses on the prep and application, you know, the basics of the basics. So I'm now moving on to my thumb. And another thing that I forgot to mention is that I don't think I show it in this video, but while doing your application or even after, you should always look at your client's nails from different angles and turn your hands, well, not your hands, but turn your client's hand to the side and look at it from the side and make sure you have a really nice apex. Make sure that, you know, your nail isn't too thin or too lumpy or too bumpy. Granted, when you go to file with your e-file, you will get some of that out if you have that, but the goal ultimately is to do application that is nice and neat and just everything is flush. You got a good apex, you have a good foundation, and overall just, you know, pretty neat. Because like I said, the neater that you work, especially during, you know, during your prep, during your application, the neater that you work, the easier it will be after, you know, every step after application. So as you can see, like I said, I don't show it, but you can kind of see on the nails, on the rest of the nails, that the application is really good. It's really solid. I don't have too much filing that I'm going to have to do. I don't have any lumps or bumps for the most part. Like overall, it is pretty good. And that's how you want it to be, because, you know, after I'm done with the thumb and I move on to filing and, you know, reshaping, I'm going to fly through it, which you guys will see during that part of the video that I do in fact fly through it. So it just really helps overall, like I said, to just, you know, continue to wipe the sides of the nails as you see I'm doing here. Continue to press up against the free edge. Make sure that you're just patting everything down, making it nice and even, nice and neat. And another thing, you guys, this is totally off topic, but if you hear any random noise in the background, I do have a 1-year-old and he is really in his exploratory phase right now. So he is just having a ball, getting into stuff, running back here and showing me stuff. So just ignore that. He's really not usually awake when I do my voiceovers for the rest of my videos, but today he is, I guess, full of energy, so we're just gonna have to work with it. But just wanted to throw that out there in case you guys, you know, were wondering what the heck is that in the background. That is indeed my son. So yeah, thanks for being patient with me. But anyways, I'm just going to finish up with the application here, wiping around the cuticles, one last little look at them. And do you see how neat they are? So neat and clean. I could literally put a top coat on and send her on her way. That's the goal. So yeah, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get into the filing. I like to turn them just one last little go around to make sure that they look good from every angle. See if there's anything that I can fix, because it's easier to fix as you go rather than wait to the end and try to fix it. So now I'm just going in with that 80 grit file that I used earlier, and I'm just filing in the same direction that the nail already goes in. So like I said, these were pre-shaped coffin tips. I did still file them down to my own liking, and as you can see, I'm already, you know, kind of flying through them, you guys, because the application is neat, and there's not really much to clean up. So I am making sure to file the free edge straight up and down at a 90-degree angle. That is what gives you the nice crispy clean shape. And when you go to file the sides of the nails, I know I already mentioned this, but make sure you pull your client's skin back, because you do not want to cut them. And also, this is something that isn't talked about a lot, but filing the undersides of the nails is super important, you guys. You want to make sure that you are getting those nice and straight, nice and clean, because although you would think that they don't matter since they are on the undersides of the nails, they definitely do make a difference, especially when they are not straight or they're ragged or rigid, you know, whatever the case may be. So you just simply, you know, take your file, and as you're filing the sides of the nails, just as you see here, I'm kind of getting underneath and then filing upwards just to get any excess acrylic, getting everything nice and straight, any excess nail tip, just overall making it nice and neat underneath of there. And like I said, when it comes to the free edge, you guys will probably see me turn the hand, but you just want to file it straight up and down. And this is what I meant by turning the hand, and then just doing it also in this motion, this direction. Sorry, I had to fix my camera. But this is another way to make sure that they are super nice and crisp. I just started doing this about a year ago, and I feel like my shape has literally improved so much. I get so many compliments. So it's just an extra little step to improve the overall look and quality of the nails, because you can have such a cute design, but if the shaping and the foundation is off, you know, people more than likely will not want to book, only because you have to think, you know, you might see some nails that got total bling, but if they have a dent or they're lumpy or, you know, super uneven, you're going to be like, those look nice, but I don't want to spend my money on those because I'm scared that they might break, or, you know, really looking at them, I don't think that they're all that good. So just keep that in mind. You have to look at things from if you were the customer. And that actually is a good business tip, you guys. That is going to be a completely different video, but just overall, doing your clients how you would want to be done is like almost the number one rule in every aspect of being a nail tech. So yeah, anyways, I am now sealing the cuticles and filing the nails. So sealing the cuticles is exactly what you see me doing here. I'm just taking my ceramic drill bit and I'm going from one side of the cuticle to the other. I'm just making sure to get it nice and flat, nice and flush. As I said earlier, you just want to make sure that the nails, like the ultimate goal, is for the nails to look like they literally grew from your client's nail bed. So this is just making sure that you are filing it down and getting it nice and even. And then as far as the rest of the nail, you're just briefly running over top of it to smooth it out. Like I said earlier, when you work super neat and clean, this step is going to be a breeze because you don't have any lumps to get out. You don't have any, bumps to fill. Like, you're literally just smoothing the nail out, which 9 times out of 10, if your application was good and neat and even, you won't have much to smooth out. So this is just, taking precautionary measures, I guess. Even if you have the perfect foundation or apex, it's just going the extra mile to make sure that everything is nice and neat, especially sealing the cuticles because that helps prevent lifting. That is super, super, super important. So this is what they look like. I do go back in and I like to touch up the free edge of the nails after doing that because, as you've seen, I like to take my e-file and file the curve of the nail tip down at the free edge. So I feel like that just adds to the nail as well. It gets any acrylic that may be under there from when I press up against it while applying the application. So it is nice to just go back through and just clean the free edge up one more time, just in case, it gets a little uneven or rigid throughout the filing process. So yeah, so that's just a step to keep in mind. Better to be safe than sorry, just to double check, triple check. That way your client doesn't leave. We all hate them texts when clients text us after their appointment like, hey, do you think you could fix this? Or maybe you're looking at your pictures from the set and you're like, oh, dang, I wish I could go back and fix that. But we all have those moments. It's okay. So now I'm moving on to the buffing. And this is honestly the easiest part. It takes about 5 seconds maybe. You just literally take the buffer and take it across the entire nail, around the cuticle area, left, right, up, bottom, the whole entire nail. And this just gives it a nice, smooth, clean surface and gets rid of anything that may be on there from the e-file. And so now I'm just doing one last check to make sure they are all still the same length, looking at that shape. This is kind of like the last go around before doing the design. And like I said, this video was strictly for beginners and teaching, or I guess showing the prep and application process. So I did not go into detail about the design. However, I do show you ladies. So I'm just putting some cuticle oil around the edges and underneath the nail for my client to go wash. And that's important because it gets all of the debris, dust, everything off and gets you ready for the nice design. So yeah, this is how the nails turned out. If you want to see more detailed videos on how I do designs like this, and everything like that, I have tons of videos on my page. And like I said, I will be uploading detailed sets, detailed tutorials on actual designs this week, once every day, if not every other day. So make sure to stay tuned, comment, like, and subscribe, and turn on the bell for post notifications so you can see when I post next. Thank you for your support, and until next time.